Participating with the School District of Philadelphia and the Office of Community Engagement, and of course our friend Hill Harper. As you probably know, Hill stars in the TV show The Good Doctor, was also in the show Limitless, both of which star people who have incredible intellectual power. Of course, Hill doesn't play those parts. But I personally know that Hill is super smart and has an enormous heart. And he's once again participating with us in supporting what we are doing for the benefit of all of you and the benefit of all of the children in the city of Philadelphia. Sea of Charities over the years has provided a number of different services within the city, from being involved in dental care or setting up programs for students to be trained as dental assistants or work in medical tech, providing scholarships, a number of different activities. But those are really just activities. They don't really explain or embrace what we're really about. And we found, when we really looked at it, what really embraces what we do is three simple but powerful words: champion for kids. And that's really what we are, champion for kids. It's the essence of what this charity is about. When I think about events like this event today, I'm reminded that it truly takes a collective community and a collective family to help a child make their way through school, be there and be healthy, graduate, move on to being an active adult, and be successful. Each of you, and collectively we, are all champions for kids. It's our responsibility to stay focused on that mission. Each one of us has a special value that we can find and bring in support of that mission.
Also, Harper headlines HLN's How It Really Happened with Hill Harper, and previously starred on CSI New York and Showtime's award-winning series Homeland. In theaters, he can be seen in the movie Concussion and recently released Tupac Shakur biopic All Eyes on Me. Harper has earned 7 NAACP Image Awards for his writing and acting, and is a 4-time New York Times bestselling author for his books Letters to a Young Brother. That's named the best book for young adults by the American Library Association. So that's a good book you can buy. You can buy for your sons in the community as well. And Letters to a Young Sister, The Conversation, and The Wealth Cure, Putting Money in Its Place. Harper's most recent book is the groundbreaking Letters to an Incarcerated Brother. Harper founded the Manifest Your Destiny Foundation, which is dedicated to empowering, encouraging, and inspiring underserved youth to succeed through education, mentorship, and grant programs. Hill Harper graduated magna cum laude as a valedictorian of his department with a bachelor's degree from Brown University and cum laude with a Juris Doctorate degree from Harvard Law School. He also holds, I heard some impression here. I know, exactly. He also holds a master's degree with honors from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government and holds an honorary doctoral degree from Winston-Salem State University, Cheney University, Westfield State College, Tougaloo College, Lemoyne Owen College, Dillard University, I know, and Howard. And can you see that? The President's Cancer Panel, having been appointed by President Obama in 2011, and he travels worldwide as a motivational speaker, addressing current affairs and life-awakening topics to a wide array of audiences of youth, educators, and business leaders. And believe it or not, he actually has time to be an entrepreneur. He owns the Roasting Plant Coffee Roastery in Detroit, a hotel in New Orleans, and the Architect & Company, a health and wellness company.
Get it.
I'm almost done. And lastly, in 2014, People magazine named him one of their sexiest men alive. I hear we have a special video that we want to see.
For these young people if they choose to dream that big. And so I want them to know they create the destiny they want. So the foundation started, and we call it the Manifest Destiny Foundation. We take proceeds from the books, put it in the foundation, as well as go and do partnerships with different organizations to fund. And this particular thing we have here is the Summer Empowerment Academy. This year we took 30 kids, at-risk youth from across Los Angeles, and we're teaching them entrepreneurship training, we're teaching them vision boards, we had them do yoga class, had them do a ropes course, had them do all sorts of great things. They came to CSI New York and visited me on the set.
Welcome, you guys, to CSI New York.
We had them learn about editing and learn about writing and all these different things.
He chooses what's going to get shown. As you saw us rehearsing, we'll do that scene over and over and over again. Different takes, different angles. He puts it together.
I'm trying to open up their eyes, expand their vision, because you tend to just dream about the things you're exposed to.
Someone taught me and he said, look, there's always somebody in a class that's getting an A, that's doing well. Go up to that person, introduce yourself, and say, hey, let's do a study plan together. Let's create a syllabus for this class together. And let's work on it once a week, twice a week together, after school, during school, and lunch.
The goal is to get obviously 100% of them graduating high school and going to college. This is just our second year, so we're going to see how last year does. I think that we're going to achieve our goal 100%. It's not about whether you have a child in school or not. And let's not wait until you have a child in that particular school. You still can take an interest in schools that are around your local area, because there's still kids that need help in those schools. And that's what this program is all about.
You guys hear me? Yes. Okay, so first of all, it's wonderful to be back in Philadelphia. I shot a movie here a few years ago called 1982, which was written and directed and produced by a young brother named Tommy Oliver here from Philadelphia. And what's interesting about this story, he's a product of this city. He approached me and said, hey, I want to shoot this film about me growing up with a crack-addicted mother and what my life was like here in the city of Philadelphia in the early 80s when crack ravaged through our city. And not only that, I actually want to shoot the film in the actual house I grew up in West Oak Lane. And I got an opportunity to come here, spend a number of months here, play this role, and in part mentor this young filmmaker and this young artist. And watch what happens when you have goals, dreams, and you marry them with hard work. He has since moved to Los Angeles. He has since created one of the #1 new docu-shows on television called Black Love Doc on OWN. Yeah. He is from Philly, a product of your school system, a product of your city, and he grew up with so many challenges. And so no one can tell me that, #1, this city's not producing great young brothers and young women. #2, that if we marry it with energy and mentorship and involvement and engagement, that individuals from here can go anywhere they want, do anything they want. And so it's great to be back here, but I wanted to tell you that story first because it connects me directly to this city, and he is doing so well. In fact, we were on the phone last night. He's doing, and I don't even know if this is public, but I'm going to say it anyway, so it's being public now. But he's already developed and written a mini-series about MOVE. And he's already sold it. So he is a superstar from this city, and you'll hear more about him. But the point is, if we figure out ways to connect, work together, no matter if you can dream it, we can do it. And that's in part what I want to talk about before we start our conversation, and talk about this idea of energy, the concept of what energy is. agnostic, and this was sort of mentioned earlier, agnostic of school funding, teacher quality, atmosphere in school, culture, energy, language. The number one determining factor of a young person's performance in school is parental engagement and involvement. The number one determining factor of a school's success is parental engagement and involvement. What does that mean? It doesn't matter if it's Philly, LA, Southside Chicago, South Bronx, it does not matter. If you have a high degree of parental engagement and involvement in school, it is the number one determining variable factor of that school's performance. So often we want to focus on resources or lack thereof, or we want to focus on so-called teacher quality, or we want to focus on administration and or we want to focus on the books, or we want to say, oh, there's not enough technology in the school. But all of that is subordinate to parental and community involvement. And it doesn't have to be the biological parent. Now watch what I say here. It does not have to be. It is about an adult individual taking accountability for what's going on in the school, whether you have a student in that school or not. Right? You can show up. I was so proud to be appointed by President Obama to the President's Cancer Panel and serve and serve under him in that capacity. And he often talked about this concept of the need for us to expand our circle of care. And what that means is all of us saying, you know what, we can oftentimes do quite well taking care of our family members, our nieces, nephews, our children. But when it comes to taking care of someone else's children, comes to taking care of others and expanding your circle of care, how do you approach that? Someone came up to me recently and said, Hill, you talk about education as if I have a stake in this local school that's down the street from me. I don't have any kids that go to that school. What difference does that make? And I said, but it's not what difference that makes, it's what difference you can make in that school. And everybody, like you guys just did, a lot of people nod their heads in agreement when I do these talks, but still do nothing.
Talk about it.
Right? So let's have an honest conversation, since we're all going to spend time here together for the next, half hour, 45 minutes. Let's really talk about it, because at the end of the day, what I'm talking about here is energy. And let me break this down really quickly. And then we're going to have a conversation about it. One of my favorite quotes about the future, when we talk about student education, when we talk about young people, what are we talking about? We're talking about the future, right? Giving them an opportunity for the future. One of my favorite quotes about the future, it's a long quote, but it goes like this: the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend passion, reason, and courage into a personal commitment to the great ideas and enterprises of American society. Bobby Kennedy said that, years and years and years ago. And the first half of the quote, the beautiful thing about going to Harvard Law School, you guys made some noise when she said Harvard Law School, like that was impressive. But she said that the sentence before, she said, I was valedictorian at Brown University. That's more impressive than going to Harvard Law School. You guys make zero about that. You make zero about it. It's harder to be valedictorian at Brown than go to Harvard Law School.
That was an eye
500 people at Harvard Law School, there's only one valedictorian. Okay? So it's okay. Here's the deal. The beautiful thing about going to Harvard Law School is the idea they're teaching the student. I learned how to be a critical thinker. If there's one thing I walked away from that school, was the institution, was I could actually look at some material with a critical eye. If you're talking about being a lawyer, you could actually argue one case or the other, one side or the other, plaintiff side. You can look at something critically and dissect. And so let's dissect this quote about the future. The future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas. That simply means the future does not belong to individuals who are afraid of innovation, new solutions.
That's right.
To old problems.
Yes.
Yet, what's interesting about education, and the way we have approached education for far too long, is that we have not evolved.
Yes, tell the truth.
Okay, if you go to a school, the vast majority of schools teach in much the similar way that you would have found taught in the 1700s, 1800s, students sitting, looking at a board, whether it's a whiteboard or an electronic board, it's the same as a chalkboard, the same teaching methodology. Yet, during that same time, they had horses and buggies, and now we have Teslas. So many areas, almost every area in the world, in our lives, have completely transformed, but the way we educate our children has not. What does that mean? It means that I believe we're in competition for young minds. And people say, Hill, what do you mean by that? I say, we're in competition for young minds because young people want to learn, and they go to places to learn. But if you're not actually presenting a compelling argument of why they should learn in your school,
That's right.
then they'll go learn something else somewhere else.
Yes, they will.
Right? And so people say to me, well, Hill, when you're working with your young people through your foundation, how do you keep them off their phones? How do you keep them away? And I say, I don't keep them off their phones. I say, it's my responsibility. If my foundation, my presentation, and the people who work for me, when we're presenting to them, if we don't have a more interesting thing, way to present, so that they don't think about getting on their phones, then that's our fault, not their fault.
That's right.
We oftentimes want to blame young people and have them learn the way we want them to learn, rather than saying it's our responsibility to create a compelling teaching methodology and method to actually get their attention. I want young people to be running into school, not running out of school. And if you don't have a school, and if you haven't created a school culture and environment where the young people are more excited to go in than to go out, then the school needs to change. It's not the young people in the community's fault.
Right.
And some people wonder, you had great parents, they were intelligent, very successful. What was your childhood like in terms of your grades and anything like that? Were there any challenges that you faced academically?
There were a number of challenges. Obviously, for me, I'm a product of a public school system. My parents believe very dearly in public schools and the public school system. And I moved around a lot. I was born in the Midwest in Iowa. My parents split. We moved to the Bay Area. My father moved to Oakland. My mother moved to San Francisco. And then I ultimately went to high school in Sacramento, California. But the idea of it in different times, in third grade, I remember they tried to throw me out. My father had to come to the school. I ended up getting tested because they said that I was not teachable. They said I had too much energy. They said I had ADD and all these other things. And then, they took me to get tested. I tested at a 10th grade reading level, and I tested at a 10th grade math level in third grade. And it just was determined that they weren't teaching me in a way that I was interested in learning from them. And he had to fight to get me, to keep me in the school. And at the end of the day, young black and brown men in our school system get tracked way too often. And it's part of our responsibility to be their advocates, to make sure that when a young brother say, oh, he's got this issue or this issue, and say, well, are you, and it goes back to what I said, are you giving a message in the classroom that they're interested in hearing? It's the same thing that happened in my first book, Letters to a Young Brother. I went to pitch that book to the publishing industry. And they said, Hill, at the time I was doing CSI New York, they said, Hill, you're on the top 5 show, 17 million people watch a week, you have degrees from Harvard, we'll do a book with you, but not this book. I said, why not this book? He said, well, this book is for young black and brown teens. I said, yeah. They said, well, we're a for-profit company, you're pitching us a book for a population that doesn't read. Oh, really?
Is it true?
So the institutionally racist notions that you have about young black men, rather than actually looking yourself in the mirror and saying, hey, these young brothers read, but they're not necessarily reading our books because we're not publishing books that they're interested in reading. And then I said, this book they'll be interested in reading. the publishing company that felt that I was saying that right, I said, you guys are going to make a lot of money. You're making a mistake. It came out, it raced up the New York Times bestsellers list. It's since become the #1 motivational book for young men in history. And so there are a lot of people that will say a lot of things, but everyone always wants to point the finger at the other rather than saying, what am I not doing about this issue or that problem?
Speaking of, and I'm glad you brought up Black boys, because there are many negative narratives and stereotypes that are constantly perpetuated in the media. The media is largely responsible for a lot of that. And we, without even realizing it, buy into that. How do you become an advocate for your Black boys specifically, but for your children? How do you fight for them in a way that's effective, in a way that gets the message across?
So I have to be his #1 advocate. Because they, at the end of the day, you have to be the advocate and you have to be squeaky. You have to make noise. And, because there's no one institution that's going to be perfect. And, I can move him out of that school, but I'll just find another problem in another school.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm hoping that all the other parents are doing exactly what I'm doing, fighting for their kids. And therefore, it's going to raise the vibration of the institution. It's going to make them aware that we just can't treat kids. The teacher had the nerve, there was a picture of my son sitting, all the other kids were at one table, he was sitting at a table by himself, having his lunch. And I said, why do you put him by himself? Oh, well, he's one of the tallest kids in school, that table's taller. I was like, I'm about to strangle you. They were going to have me up on charges. I said, if he's ever sitting by himself again, I will shut the school down. You have to break. I will come and physically cut the table in half. The long table where all the other kids are sitting, so there'll be 2 tables now. And they're like, well, I think you're overreacting. I said, no, I'm underreacting. Because you really don't want to see me upset. Because the school just started 2 weeks ago. We're going to go through this all the time. Because I'm going to be his #1 advocate. That's it.
How do people, because I think a lot of times, and you mentioned it in your talk here, if you're not a parent, you're like, well, that's their job, that's the teacher's job, that's the school district's job. How do you get involved as someone who doesn't have a child in the district?
You show up. One of my favorite quotes that people quote me, that I've said in my books, and I say it when I'm doing talks and people will post it after I say it, is you don't need an invitation to help. You just show up, right? You don't need someone to knock on your door and say, hey, will you help us with the school down the street? You go to the school and say, I want to help. And then if they turn you away, then that should be your first indication that there's a problem there. And then you knock again and say, hey, I just said I want to help. You just turned me away. And that means you either need to have a process for getting community engaged, and I will actually lead that effort, and I'll help you with the vetting, and I'll help you do all the things that you feel like you need to do. But if that's not in place, you need to get it in place, because Harper told me that the #1 predictor of successful school is community engagement, blah, 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 blah. If you need me to call them and put my foot up there, booty, then DM me on Instagram, and I'll make a call. And I'll say, this is Harper, why did you turn Tanisha away? She showed up to help, and she didn't even have a kid in the school.
So I know you recently became a father. How has that changed your perspective? I know you were already passionate about this before, but how has that changed your perspective and your insight when it comes to this issue?
Well, just being a parent it obviously changed my perspective in so many different ways, but it's just made me dumb down what I already knew, and how important it is, because and that's the point. These people at that school were already intimidated by me, and they still mistreated my son. You see what I'm saying? In other words, they knew who I was, and they knew they didn't want to upset me, but they still didn't, you know. So it just goes to show you, if you're someone who they don't know, and you're just another number, how much worse is that?
Right.
And I'm paying a lot of money at this school. It's not free, K. This is expensive, K. In fact, it's more expensive than most universities because it's a trilingual K. So he's learning Chinese, Spanish, and English. Although he hadn't learned the damn thing. So I don't know exactly what I'm paying for, but I know he's going to sit by himself.
I'm going to touch on this briefly. You mentioned Spanish, and I know there's a large Latino population in the Philadelphia school district. How, as a parent who is new to this, right, you have a lot of first-generation students here, how do you get involved when you feel intimidated or perhaps you can't communicate as well or as confidently as you would like? How do you get involved?
I think it's about coalition building. You know, if you feel like, if you're showing up by yourself and you feel like a lone wolf, then you have to go out and either contact other parents or other people in the community to say, will you go and have my back? Will you go with me? Will you support me in this? Will you help me create an organization that's, you know, you can, here's the deal, you can create your own organization that's called, you know, Kids of Excellence, Philadelphia. You know, there's no limit to what you can do.
That's right.
And so actually creating, when I talk about energy is about how much energy you're willing to put out, but then also there's collective energy. How much can you recruit to help you push an agenda forward? If you don't like the direction the school is going, then you can actually put together a group of individuals that can get rid of the entire school board, right? Get rid of them. Change them all. If you don't like the administrators, put together a coalition to have them all fired. You know, none of this stuff is beyond the pale, right? And listen, if you show up in this beautiful, I mean, obviously this is recently renovated. I don't know when, but it's beautiful. But if this place here is nicer than schools, then that's a problem.
And we didn't agree to it.
I'm looking at it. I mean, this is really nice. This is a nice place. But students need to have this level of finishing in their school.
What do you find is the biggest mistake that parents make when it comes to their child's education and making sure that they're equipped and equipped with the necessary tools to be successful?
I mean, I'm going to sound like I'm just repeating myself, but I believe that we seed our education of our children to the school, and the school's just one small piece of it. It's just a small piece. The school's not there to educate your kids. It's just not. And it doesn't have the capacity to do that in a full 360 way. The school is there to help educate your child.
Right.
To help educate your child. And then it's on us and you and we to say, how can we help the school educate our child? And how can we start to make that happen? So,
Yes.
What do you get out of this? Why do you care? Why do you care so much?
this is just I can't tell you why this is the issue I care about, but it is. I mean, you know, and that's why I ask people, I say, what do you care about? What are you passionate about? If you're not passionate about education, that's fine. Ask yourself, what are you passionate about? Some people are passionate about the environment.
That's right.
And clean water, clean air. Some people are passionate about making money. Some people are passionate about building businesses and being entrepreneurs. Some people are passionate about their religious studies. Some people, it doesn't matter what you're passionate about. Whatever you're passionate about, follow that. But don't say you're passionate about education and not really be passionate about it, right? This is just where my passion is. And the easiest way to know is that when you hear about something that has to do with whatever that issue is, does your heart beat faster?
Yeah.
Does it make the hair stand up a little bit? Do you go, I want to get engaged, I want to get involved? if whatever that is, it could be the environment, it could be clean water in Flint, Michigan, it could be what's happening with the hurricanes, it could be what's happening in Puerto Rico, and you're like, I need to help people in Puerto Rico. That's fine, right? Wherever your heart goes, follow that. Be true to yourself as well. Don't keep showing up in education stuff if that's not really what you're passionate about. It just happens to be where my passion lies.
I know the district specifically struggles with absenteeism, students not showing up to class. They've done a little better compared to last year. How do you get, especially at the older ages, how do you get a child passionate about his education again?
You have to know the child. You have to know them. And this goes back to what I was saying. There's a problem in the school. This is the best way to judge a school, I'm telling y'all, is in the morning when the first bell rings, and in the evening, in the afternoon, when the last bell rings. Are the kids walking out faster than they walked in? It's the best way to judge a school. It's the number one way. If the kids are leaving quicker with more energy than they were walking in the morning, then the school has a problem. The school is not speaking to those young people. The school is not putting together any type of messaging or teaching methodology that interests them in a really deep and interesting way. Usually, it's the institution that's the problem, and there's certain outliers within it, like really great teachers that have kids, and then what you'll see with those teachers is that those kids are staying, they'll actually go to that classroom when the final bell rings. Like, I want to go to Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so's classroom because they're doing something special. Or I want to do this, or even during lunch break, I've met kids that say, oh, I go to Mr. or Mrs. such-and-such's classroom during my lunch because we talk about this, we got this thing going on. Point is that that's the best way to judge. And if that's not happening, and people laugh when I say that because they're so used to it being the reverse, but the reverse is what's wrong. In other words, it's like being in LA and seeing all that smog. And people are so used to bad air, they're like, ooh, I can actually see the sky. It's a good air day. No, that air is still real bad. You just happen to be able to see through it today. Right? And the same thing with school. Oh, there's a few teachers here where the kids like to go to after school. The whole school should feel that way. The whole school should have a heartbeat and an energy that is just so attractive that you have to actually ask the kids to leave. Now, you can do that through a couple different ways. One, you could approach, we know young people love technology, right? So, there's an organization in Detroit called Rocket Fiber, which is the fastest internet in the world. And I've recently been talking to them about figuring out a way to fund putting rocket fiber in schools. In other words, be the fastest internet that you could available to you in the world at your school. Wireless, right? Just one technique of keeping kids. If they could play their games faster, I mean literally download things so fast it will blow your mind. Play games, watch videos, do whatever. And they're like, I'm not leaving school. I'm not leaving this campus because I don't have access to this type of technology and speed anywhere else. I want to stay on campus. That's just one small little carrot. But it's an example of us providing carrots of what young people are interested in. Right?
How do you spot the superintendent was telling me, Dr. Hyde was telling me about...
Where did he go? What's he working on?
Ask some real questions.
Listen, we gotta be real. Let's be real.
We need to ask some real questions. Real questions.
He's telling me earlier that they did kind of an IQ test. And the students who people thought were the least likely to be at the mental level or highly intelligent were found to be highly intelligent. How do you spot a gifted child? How do you nurture that?
They're all gifted. Every single kid I've ever worked with through my family, I'm talking about thousands of kids, they all have some type of genius. They all have magnificent. And it's not about spotting the one that they're all, and it's about actually saying, okay, it's the same question. You figure out what are you passionate about? What makes your heart beat faster? As the young person, they already know what they like, and you don't judge it. You say, how can we dig down deeper on it? And it's like, and somebody came to me, and I'll give you an analogy. Somebody came to me and said, Hill, you talk about, it was a thing like that. They stood up there, they puffed their chest out, and they're mad at me. And they said, Hill, you talk about you can do anything you want in life and dream, and we know that all these young boys, they want to be pro ball players. And we know, and he started running down statistics. There's only 446 NBA ball players. There's only you can't have them dream to be NBA ball players. And I said, why not? They said, because they're not jobs for them. I said, but what dreams do is that if you point the work and the effort, they may lead you down a path. When I was young, I wanted to be an NFL player, right? I didn't realize I wasn't going to grow. Right? But the beautiful thing about that pursuit is that it taught me about leadership, playing in a team. It taught me all these things. And it led me in college to go to Brown University. Right? Where as soon as I got to Brown, I was introduced to things that were so much more important to me than athletics, but it helped me get there, right? And so the point is, you don't judge the dream. You say, are you working to work the dream? And then what are you going to learn along the way? So all of these young people, everybody has a gift, and they have a level of genius. It's about us actually pulling it out of them and engaging them and getting them interested in it, and then they go and do what they do. You know, I don't know what your dreams were when you were young, but it could have been, I'm going to be an anchor, or it could have been, I'm going to be a ballerina. It doesn't matter. It still led you on a journey. Right?
Last question, we're wrapping up here.
I think there was a question to the audience, though, right?
Yeah.
That's what I stayed for.
All right, yeah, let's take some questions then. Let me get the lady here in the picture.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, I'm Supermom. That's all I got.
Please ask the question. No comments, please.
We'll have long.
My son is in 10th grade at Dobbins, and my other one is in 4th grade at Williamson. My 10th grader is shy, and he's not performing well. How do I open him up? Because usually I'm a social person, and help him to his dream as being a cartoonist. He's in Dobbins, and he's in a computer graphics program. They teach him how to draw on his computer and do a lot of different things, but he's not opening up. How do I get him to open more?
I think it goes back to what I said before, is really, it's almost like you have to continuously interview him and really understand what he's interested in and what he loves, and whether it's about being a cartoonist or not. And once you do that, you start programming or creating things that follow that interest, and you start feeding it like soil. And then you start putting together requirements that go along with that interest to really test whether he's truly interested in it or just saying he's interested. What do I mean by that? Is you start saying, okay, if this is something you're really interested in, you'd be willing to get up at 5, 6 in the morning to spend maybe an extra hour before you have to go here or there drawing, because this is what's required beyond school. And what you start to see is once you start adding on extra requirements around that activity, he may say, you know what, I was kind of interested in it, but I'm not that interested in it, right? Or maybe he does. Because you have to remember, to be excellent or outstanding in something, you have to put in significantly more hours. Malcolm Gladwell wrote about 10,000 hours. If you ever read one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, I recommend you do. Okay, so Malcolm Gladwell is a wonderful writer, and he wrote about this idea of mastery. And he basically wrote about the idea that to master anything, no matter what the discipline, it takes 10,000 hours of study. Okay, whatever it is. So for a cartoonist, 10,000 hours. And you can explain that to them, have them read that chapter of the book called 10,000 Hours. The book's not called 10,000, it's just a chapter. It's either his book, The Tipping Point, or it's another book. He's written a number of books, but you'll find it. Just look it up on the net. And he talks about 10,000 hours. And that's really where you can test someone's interest in whatever subject. If they happily and willingly want to put in their 10,000 hours, they're really interested in it. But if they're like, you know what, I kind of like it, but I'm not that into it to put in 10,000, no, they're not really, it's kind of a hobby then, right? And that's the best way.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just get one more.